Hi, this is Miss Hadi from Olympian High School. I met with Miss Rogerson earlier today, and we decided we would try to work together to teach you guys while you're distance learning in your pajamas at home. And for ancient world history, these next 2 weeks are going to be about learning about chapter 10. So I'm hoping that you're able to see my screen. This is my first time playing with this. We decided, Mr. Rogerson and I, to focus mostly on politics. So we're going to not discuss as much the religion and culture and other amazing aspects of this chapter. We figured this would be the best way to have you prepare for 10th grade AP World. So we're going to spend 2 weeks on this topic. Let's get started. We're going to jump right in, and we'll be very quickly touching on the ancient civilizations so we can focus on the classical ones. So first of all, what does it mean Mediterranean? Those are the civilizations that bordered the Mediterranean Sea. But for this chapter, we're specifically looking at what is now called Greece. Of course, there was no country called Greece back then. So this is obviously made up of a lot of little islands. So there are parts here that are not island, they're on the mainland, and then there are parts that are island. So we'll be looking here at the ancient civilizations that developed in the 3rd millennium, so the 2000s BCE, the Minoan, and then later the Mycenaean civilization. And then Ms. Rogerson will pick up teaching you about the Polis that developed after those societies fell. So really quickly, if you look back, we're looking kind of right here. So right here is basically what we think of as Greece. And here's the Aegean Sea, here's the island of Crete. I'm not going to talk to you too much about how the society developed, but let's leave it at there was a society, a complex society that formed that historians have come to call the Minoan Society. And they developed on the island of Crete. They built a major city at a site called Knossos that had really beautiful frescoes, which are like paintings on walls. And they had a vibrant maritime trade network where they traded Cretan olive oil and wine and wool for things with other societies nearby. They even developed a complicated syllabic script. That means it's based on like syllables versus each letter denoting a particular sound. That's called linear A. Unfortunately, they had a series of natural disasters, so that would mean earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tidal waves that largely destroyed many of their buildings around 1700 BCE, and they took that as an opportunity to rebuild, and they started to rebuild their societies, and they rebuilt these beautiful structures, which only served to attract foreigners from outside who were already starting to come over to attack them. And so you really start to see these foreign invasions as early as 1500 BCE, 1450 BCE, and one of the most important foreigners that came over were the Indo-Europeans, which you've learned about in other chapters. You've learned about the Indo-European migrations, how they took the Aryans to India, how they took the Persians and the Medes to Persia. So this is just another example of the foreign invaders coming as part of the Indo-European migrations. And that civilization is going to eventually be called the Mycenaean civilization after their largest settlement called Mycenae. And they're going to come to dominate over Minoan society by 1100 BCE, making their own version of a written language called Linear B, based largely off of Linear A. So these Indo-European invaders that I mentioned descended through the Balkans into the Peloponnesus, which is the southern part of Greece. So make sure you know where the Peloponnesus is. Like as I said, they're influenced by Minoan culture. Their major settlement was Mycenae, and then they start to project their influence throughout the region using their military to expand and create settlements across the Mediterranean. By around 1200, and definitely between 1100 and 800, there were a series of conflicts that really weakened Mycenaean society. One was with a city called Troy, which is in Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, called the Trojan War. This is recounted in 2 famous books called the Iliad and the Odyssey. So this was a time of turbulence, a time of turmoil, chaos, and during that time, Mycenaean civilization largely disappears, and that vibrant society, that vibrant trade, gets reduced to a very scary, unstable situation where there isn't a centralized government, there isn't a lot of protection, and the Greek, what we'll come to call Greek people, are going to form a new type of political method of protecting themselves, and that's where we're going to learn about the Polis, and Ms. Rogerson will teach you about that. Thanks for watching, and the Polis are coming next. And let me see if I can stop this. How do I stop this? Here we go.